Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Minefield. This episode is brought to you by cheap ass Mountain Dew ripoff and a half-eaten tub of cheese balls. Hey guys, thanks for showing up. Going to be talking about Mandalorian episode 8. I've heard people say that it's the best episode of the season. I won't say that, but I will say that it is the second best episode of the season because you just can't beat the second episode, which is basically Lone Wolfing Cub. So, and we still get a lot of that in this episode, but I'll talk about that later. So first, let's talk about that opening scene. Because Taika Waititi is directing this, I knew to expect some humor because that's his thing. Thor Ragnarok is Adolf Hitler comedy. You know, basically he likes comedy. And this one right out of the gate. Opening scene with the Scout Troopers was hilarious. We had the voices of Jason Sudeikis and what's that kid's name? Adam Pally. And both these guys are funny as heck. Anything they're in, these guys are really gifted actors, but they're really funny. And so we get this hilarious scene that even though they just murdered Quill, you know he's dead. They stop off at a rally point and they're waiting to get the order to take the baby that they just kidnapped down to Moff Gideon, who is, of course, the villain we were introduced in episode 7 to, played by Giancarlo Esposito. And everybody knows him from, of course, Breaking Bad. I mean, he's been around since the 80s, but that's what he's known for. So we see these two bantering, and it's like, what does the baby look like? The one wants to see it, and the other one's like, why do you want to look at it? And they're both abusing the heck out of this poor thing. Thank goodness Baby Yoda has the Force. Otherwise, I think it would be dead. Or maybe that critter is just really capable of taking a beating, like the Energizer Bunny. So we've got this poor Baby Yoda being beaten by these guys. The other one wants to see it. Finally, the other guy says, all right, we'll take a look at it because, you know, he brings up, you've hit it so many times, maybe you killed it and you don't want to be delivering a dead baby to the grandma. Look what he killed. He killed all these Imperial officers for interrupting him. What would he do to somebody who damaged the goods that he wanted? So he opens the bag and there's Baby Yoda and he's poking it and then the thing bites him and that's hilarious. And then they're sitting there and they're having the blaster scene where it's a gag on, of course, it's stormtroopers and scout troopers are still stormtroopers, can't shoot. They're aiming at the same object 10 yards away and they can't hit it. And they're rattling their gun like, oh, is it the gun? The gun's bad. So then IG-11 shows up. And oh my God, that was like one of the best scenes of the series. IG just tears these two scout troopers apart. Just flips one with a judo throw and then just bashes the other one into his bike over and over and over again until he stops moving. And then he gets on the other speeder bike, takes the baby, and goes. And then just starts killing troopers on the way and cut to opening titles. And I'm like, that is the best. I'm not saying it's the best episode because I still say it's the second best episode, but it's the single best opening scene of the series. And Taika Waititi, I got to tell you, I know he's partially responsible for the humor of that, but credit goes to Jon Favreau for writing that because he's the showrunner and he wrote that screenplay. Taika didn't get any credit for that. So, you know, Jon wrote it that way. He knows comedy. So, I mean, the first movie he ever made was comedy. So we got this great opening. Now we go back. It's the Alamo scene, or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid where they're trapped. And we've got the Mandalorian, Cara Dune, and Grief. It's the Carl Weathers character. Anyway, they're all trapped in this bar. There's no way to get out, and Moff Gideon offers him a chance to surrender, but no guarantee that he's not going to kill him. So it's like, no. So basically, they're like, what are we going to do? We got to get out of here. So Mando is like looking for a means of egress. And he starts searching with his scanners and finds a vent that goes down to the sewers. And the sewers are, of course, in the tunnels where all the Mandalorian are. So he's like, we can get down to them. And of course, they can't get through the grill because he has nothing to blow it up with. So they're still trapped. And lo and behold, here comes the hero of the day, IG-11, also the director of the show. And so he saves the day, kills a bunch of troopers. They end up in this huge battle, and great battle, and just some amazing action scenes. And Mando gets hurt. You know, technically he was mortally wounded. And so they all drag him back into the bar, and they send in a flamethrower trooper. Real cool looking, boom, boom, big flamethrower, red makeup on his, or paint on his armor. And lo and behold, guess who's going to save the day? And he's not just a pretty face, Baby Yoda. So Baby Yoda uses the Force and curtails the flames, stopping them from coming in, and in fact blows them back outward towards the trooper, blowing him out and probably killing him. And then he collapses. And they're like, how are we going to do this? Mando's like, just leave me here. I'm going to die. And Cara won't leave him. She orders IG-11 to basically help him. And she takes the baby. And because IG-11 had broken the grate, they were able to go down into the sewer and escape. And of course, now IG-11 is alone with Mando. Now, Mando doesn't like droids, but they seem to have a bond now. And IG-11 says, I want to help you. The only way to help you is I have to take your helmet off. And of course, he draws a gun on IG-11, telling him, you know, no living person can see my face. This is the way, you know. And IG-11 reminds him, I'm not alive. So he allows him to take the helmet off, and we get to see the great reveal of the series, Mando's actual face, which of course is actor Pedro Pascal. And he's all bloodied and wounded, and IG-11 sprays some Bacta solution on him, says it will take a couple hours to completely heal you, but you'll be good to go. And then we see them, you know, down in the sub-basement, Cara Dune and Greef, and they hear noise behind them. They turn, and it's like, oh my God, is it troopers? And it's like, no, of course it's IG-11 with our guy. And after a few minutes, he starts to regain himself, and they're trying to find a way through the tunnel because, you know, Mando only knows one way into the tunnels, and this is not the way. He usually comes in through the market square. So he's lost in the tunnels, but they finally find their way, and there are no Mandalorians. And instead, they find empty armor. And this is not a good sign. Obviously, some of the Mandalorians were killed, if not possibly all of them. And thankfully, though, the armor is there. She explains that some of them did escape, but a lot of them met their fate at the hands of the Imperial troopers that showed up. Apparently a battle that we didn't get to see. And in this scene with her now, we get to see him finally get his crest. And a crest is really cool. If you look at it, it is that rhinoceros creature that he and Baby Yoda fought together, the two of them as one, and defeated that creature. And so that is now his crest, and he'll wear it with honor, as he says. And then also on top of that, because we get the payoff from him wanting that rocket pack, he gets his rocket pack. But we discover something that I was personally unaware of, that it's not just a skill to learn how to do. You actually have to communicate with the rocket pack. And so he has to train with this rocket pack for it to take orders from him. I thought that's interesting. So we see them try to escape. They leave. They're headed towards this lava river. She's left there alone. She won't leave and I forget her character's name, the armor. She is kneeling. The troopers come walking in. She's totally outnumbered, and without a fire weapon, she takes on all those stormtroopers and beats the shit out of them. And well, basically, I assume she kills them all. Two of them, she broke their helmets with her weapons. She had handheld weapons that looked like tools that she used for her trade. And then she goes back to work. They're dead. She goes back to work. Cut back to our heroes on their way, and they find a boat on this river of lava, and they got to break it free. And the droid that normally controls it is covered in lava himself, and looks like he's been defunct for a while. They start floating down the lava river, and the droid comes to life. And it's one of the coolest moments for me that this R2 unit breaks free and then stands up and has like arms and legs. And it was so bizarre but awesome. And he's going down the river. They see the end of the tunnel, and as they get to the end of the tunnel, Mando can see ahead with his scanners that there's an ambush, and so they have to decide what to do. They refuse to surrender, but they're all going to die. IG-11 says there's no way I'm going to survive in any of these situations. There's not one scenario I'm going to survive. So he offers himself up, a la Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2, to go into the lava, walk out, and sacrifice himself to save everybody. And he does, and it's a cool explosion scene, killing all those stormtroopers. He self-destructs. It's a payoff to that gag from Episode 1 where he kept wanting to self-destruct. Now he finally got to complete that mission, and they escape. But now comes, like in any good video game, the big boss battle. So TIE Fighter comes flying in, and who's at the helm? It is Moff Gideon. So Moff Gideon is going to kick some butt, firing on him, goes around, he's coming back around, and the Mandalorian says, we're not going to survive this. So he puts his rocket pack on and risks it all. Decides, I'm going to go ahead and fly. And of course, he's not that great at it. But it's not the greatest American hero TV show kind of bad flying. It's, he's not like, ah! No, he just is not that great at it. But he gets the TIE Fighter, attaches himself to it, detonates two of the charges on part of the pylon that holds the one of the wings. So it crashes. He rockets down, survives, and they do the classic wrap up. Now, this is something if you're my age, you'll remember it, and some people are going to watch old TV shows too. But like on shows like Wanted Dead or Alive with Richard Boone as Paladin, or Steve McQueen's. Oh wait, I had it backwards. Have Gun Will Travel with Richard Boone, and then Wanted Dead Alive with Steve McQueen. And these were half-hour shows, so they would have this kind of simplistic wrap-up. And we get that sort of at the end of this. And this is probably one of my only complaints about the show, is that everything feels so rushed. These episodes should not be 36 to 44 minutes. They should be a solid 45 to 50 minutes. We need to get every bit of story in and not make anything feel like it's rushed. We should have a wrap up that doesn't have simplistic dialogue like, well, we got all the bad guys, the town's cleaned up. And that's really what they're saying. They're saying at the end of this episode, the town's all cleaned up, stormtroopers are all dead. Well, how do you know that? You're just guessing. And of course, we get the girl, Cara Dune, saying, I think I'll stick around and I'll maybe be Marshall, kind of moment. I'm not saying she will be. I'm just saying that's how it felt. It felt like that quick wrap up of the old 50s and 60s Westerns. And we get this last scene, like they did with a previous episode where we got a little extra at the end where we get to see mystery character. And this time we get to see Moff Gideon had survived the crash, and he cuts his way out of his TIE Fighter with the dark saber. right? Yeah. It's damn good storytelling. It's better than any Saturday morning cartoon, but it's written a lot like Saturday morning cartoons that are meant for both, for the family, for the kids as well as the parents to sit with the kids and watch it. So that's what this really is. It's great entertainment, great action, really good dialogue, really great characters, and that's what leads me to the next part, which is really strong secondary characters and villains that are good villains. This is the problem I had with the Star Wars Disney trilogy, which is really weak villains, weak secondary characters, not very good story arcs, character arcs. You have strong character arcs in this story. And one of my favorite character arcs in this story is really the Mandalorian, because he starts out one way at the beginning of the series, and by the end of the series, everything he had issues with, he had overcome. He was no longer freaked out by droids, because he had that problem. Plus, of course, during the episode, I forgot to mention, is we get the reveal of his personal history and how he was rescued and became a foundling. The explanation, of course, also for why he can't take his helmet off, which is as a foundling, you take a different kind of oath, a Mandalorian oath, which is not to reveal yourself. I really like that. This is not like the other Mandalorians, because some people said that was a plot hole, and I'm like, it's not a plot hole if it's explained by the end of the season or the series, and because TV shows are different than movies in that way. You can't call something a plot hole when you have episodic serial, because eventually something will be explained about that. It's only a plot hole when you get to the end of a movie and that's not explained. I mean, we got some great characters, great character arc for Mandalorian. I'm looking forward to the next season because now he is officially the dad of Baby Yoda until he finds their family. And if he doesn't find their family, it's his job to raise this child. And of course, everything's forgiven with the guild, so he's welcome back anytime. I love the relationships with these characters. But on an exciting note, before I close, Jon Favreau posted today, along with this final episode, an image of a creature character from season 2 of The Mandalorian, which of course was Gomorian. Which, if anybody knows that, they were like the green Fred Flintstones of Return of the Jedi. They were kind of goofy looking, in my opinion. I was never a big fan of the Gomorian. But this new sculpt, and they did this before because he did the same thing with Bosk, or the species that Bosk belongs to. Bosk, of course, was that cool lizard bounty hunter in Empire Strikes Back that's standing there in a one of their rebel style flight suits, and he's got his own blaster and he's a big lizard head, and I'm like, yeah, it was really obviously not a very good prosthetic mask. On the show, in episode 2, we got to see some of the species, and they're more anthropomorphic and more animated in their face. There's a lot of stuff. So I like how Jon Favreau is, and once again, Dave Filoni too. They are both executive producers on this show, but Jon is the showrunner, and I love that they are really going back and updating some of these great things, not changing them, just upping them to today. If that makeup was done today, this is how it would be done. And it just looks fantastic. The show looks fantastic. Amazing storylines, really great writing, great characters, great action. There's just nothing I don't love about this show. And initially, I didn't even like the theme, and I love that theme. It's my favorite theme now. Right below the Imperial March from The Empire Strikes Back. Those are my two favorite Star Wars themes. So, with that, I don't know. Just get off the grass and do me a favor. Get out of here.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Remember, you can find us at Pop Culture Minefield on both Facebook and Instagram. Thank you again.